welcome to our CESI Talks, Just Transitions. Our project is supported by the European Parliament. We want to set up conversations with policymakers and experts on the topic of transitions and the challenges that await us and the good practices that we can set in place in order to face these challenges. Today, we're really pleased to have Mr. Oliver Röpke, President of the Workers' Group of the European Economic and Social Committee. Thank you very much for being here.
Good morning, Sara.
And our Secretary General, Mr. Klaus Heeger. Thank you.
Morning.
So let's start with a question for the both of you. Do you see the green transition as a danger or rather an opportunity for workers in Europe? Mr. Röpke, the floor is yours.
Well, if you look to the current proposals and to the challenges that workers and especially industry are facing, then I think it's definitely both. But first of all, it's a reality. It is a reality if we have a look to the recent proposals of the Fit for 55 package, then it's clear reducing emissions by 2030 by 55%. And climate neutrality by 2050 means actually a revolution for our economy, but also for our workforce, for our workers. And we estimate that around 25 million industrial and energy sector workers will be impacted, with hundreds of thousands of jobs changing as a result. So clearly, change is always a chance for innovation, and I think we have to take this chance. But of course, at the same time, it's a big danger. It's a big danger if we don't have the right framework in place, if we cannot safeguard a strong industrial base, decent workplaces, decent jobs, decent working conditions, decent salaries for our workers, then it's definitely a danger. So therefore, we, the trade unions, the European trade unions, definitely support the EU Green Deal, but the climate targets must be met by an equal ambition on managing the social and employment impacts. So make the Green Deal a social deal. This is actually essential.
Absolutely right, Mr. Röpke. And what about you, Mr. Heeger? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree with Oliver here. I mean, we're facing a period of fundamental change and upheaval, and the Green Deal will have fundamental social and employment impacts. I've been saying that in the past, and as also Oliver said, I mean, this is happening. We cannot put our head in the sand and then say this cannot happen, because both the digital and the green transitions are happening and they must happen. And we all know that there are not new jobs on a new planet. So we will have somehow to face this situation and to do the very best out of it and to design it in our way. I think we know, Oliver was referring to it also, that jobs will be lost in carbon intensive sectors. There will be areas and sectors which will be disindustrialized and they're decertificated. And we know also when jobs get lost, there will not be necessarily new ones created. And another question is then also, if new ones are created, will there be quality jobs, which is, I think, for us very important. So yes, we will have to design, if we want these changes, these transitions to be socially fair, we will have to anticipate changes. We will have to deal with the consequences of these transitions. And we discussed it also many times, Sarah. We will have to enlarge as trade unions, I think, our understanding and our acting and our influencing of many more policy fields than we have done it so far. I think trade unions, if we really, as I said, want to save many new quality jobs, we will have to pay attention to many more policy fields in the future, and not only focusing on the interest, or the traditional role of trade unions, on the interest representation of our members. I agree with Oliver also that it has to be a social deal, a social transition by the end of the day. And of course, we have quite some tools at our disposal. I mean, we think of the Porto Declaration, the European Pillar of Social Rights, the UN guidelines on fair green transitions, for instance. So we have also to take into account these tools we have in the design of the respective transitions.
You're absolutely right. You both said there are going to be challenges. A lot of workers are going to be impacted, and we need to anticipate what is going to happen, because more and more policy areas are interconnected in these changes and this transition. Now, Mr. Röpke, what kind of mechanisms do you think we will need in order to ensure the protection of workers during these transitions?
Well, there are already some proposals on the table, but I think all of them are not really sufficient, because I think first of all, what we really need is a mapping, an employment and industrial mapping. Which regions are the most affected from the transition, from the green transition? And here we can see that we have specific countries and specific regions which are facing the most dramatic challenges. And here we have to make sure that in those regions, the companies and the workers are supported to manage this change. I fully agree with Klaus. We will not keep and maintain all the jobs, but we should try, where possible, to transform even energy-intensive industries in the new area. So therefore, I think we need a mapping, and Europe and the European Commission has to make sure that decent jobs have to be kept, or new jobs have to be created. So therefore, this strategy must be absolutely connected and interconnected with a strong industrial policy. That's number one. And number two, to manage this process, I'm convinced, and I said it at the beginning, that of course we need decent jobs, decent working conditions, decent wages, but the precondition for this is a strong involvement of workers and of trade unions. So therefore, we as workers group are calling for a new and stronger European framework for stronger workers' participation, information, and consultation. There are some proposals on the table. Recently, we had a report in the European Parliament, and I think it's now urgent. It's now really the time that the Commission should propose such a new framework. Only if the workers and their representatives are strongly involved in this transformation process, it can be a social one.
I think it is important to stress out what you just said. I mean, workers, which are going to be highly affected, mostly affected by the transition, need to be involved. They don't have to succumb to the change, but they need to be able to drive the change in order for everybody to get the best positive outcome out of this. And as Mr. Heeger just said before as well, our role as a trade union is changing and has to change. We need to work on different policy fields. We need to anticipate, study what is going to happen, have a long-term strategies. And as you said as well, Mr. Röpke, there needs to be a big role for social partners. So I wanted to ask Mr. Heeger, why does the success of these ambition transitions in the EU depend on the active involvement of social partners?
Yeah, we spoke just now about the necessity of digital and green transitions being also socially fair transitions. And I think, as Oliver said, I mean, to get workers in the design of these policies, and the design of change and the process of change is fundamental for the success. I mean, it is, by the end of the day, it is our social model which is at stake. We can become, how could I say, a society of the future, being totally digitally at the highest level, and having met all the ambitious aims of the Fit for 55 or the climate change law. But if we lose the people on the way to there, it will not be successful. And I think our trade union role consists really in raising awareness of the impacts, getting people ready also for these impacts. We must be ready to adapt to these changes and upheavals. We must anticipate, and we must, when the time has come, act. And what Oliver also was referring to, information consultation and co-decision. Yes, we have to somehow co-shape, we have to co-design, we have to influence these transitions. And for this, we have to be informed, we have to be consulted, we have to be heard, we have to be at the heart of the transitions. And that's why I believe also trade unions in this process are fundamental, they're central, they're crucial. And I think we also have to think as trade unions of an increasingly important role in change management. It's some kind of structured approach also to prepare, support, and help individuals. And because transitions will be, they will influence all aspects of the way people work and live, and it should be managed properly. And we cannot leave this to let's say coincidence, to chance, or to the employers alone. So I think we are really in a very, very, very important process, which, as we established, to which there's no alternative. And it is up to us also to shape, to seize, to design this process in our interest.
Thank you very much. I think that what we can get out of this conversation today is that we need a strategic framework of involvement of social partners, where each social partner needs to step up to its role in order to guarantee the protection of workers and workers' conditions in order to face these challenges that we have ahead. I'm positive that we are going to work towards this goal, and I thank you very much for being with us today and for this conversation, and I hope I'm going to see you next time. Thank you.
Bye, Sara. Bye, Oliver.
Bye, Sara. Bye, Klaus. See you.
See you.